Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. North Carolina Peoples in the Moorhead House on the campus of the University at Chapel Hill this evening. He's known as North Carolina's ambassador to the whole wide world. He's an individual who's brought us so many moments of joy, so many great periods of happiness. Of course, I'm talking about Andy Griffith. He's back here at his academic home, and we'll meet and talk with him in just a few seconds.
Funding for North Carolina People is provided by Wachovia, helping North Carolina people realize their financial goals since 1879. And by UNC-TV members.
Andy,
yes, sir.
Great to see you again.
It's wonderful to see you, Dr. Bill.
Well, it's good to have you and your dear wife Cindy here in Chapel Hill for these 3 days. It's been great to have you wandering around, just having a refreshing experience.
We've had a wonderful time performing and visiting with a lot of people and giving our papers and memories to the university. This has been the best 3 days of our lives.
I want to get on some of those things, but I want to go back to something that you did yesterday. You remembered that very first day you came to Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
What was it like?
Well, I was scared to death.
Really?
Oh, yes. I was very homesick. And I wrote my parents saying I got here about 5:30 and got in my room, steel dormitory there, and number 33. Steel dormitory about 7 o'clock, and I remember it so well. My bunk was a top bunk, and I heard singing outside the window, and I kind of leaned toward the window, and there were a bunch of boys under a tree down there singing in harmony, and they were being led by a blind fellow who had a beautiful tenor voice. He later went on to law school here. I never really knew him, but he could walk around this campus, no dog or anything. He just knew where he was. And I heard him singing. I didn't have the nerve to go down and sing with him, but oh, it just touched me so much.
From that moment on, as I've listened to you, music has been so much a part of your life. Here you were president of the Men's Glee Club. You sang all the great music the choruses sing, but all through your career in television and motion pictures. Where'd that come from? What struck you early in life?
Music? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, my mother played stringed instruments. She played guitar. The family her side of the family all played music. Mm-hmm. And I guess I tried a little ukulele first. And then I got an old cheap guitar, and I guess late grammar school, early high school, there was a lot of swing music. You remember?
Oh, yes.
On the radio, and they had pictures with the big bands, yeah. And I wanted so bad to play in a swing band, and I had a Spiegel catalog that had 2 pages of music instruments. And I would turn those pages and look at those instruments every day and try to figure out which one I'd like to try to get. We didn't have any money. But I saw a picture called Birth of the Blues. Mm-hmm. And Jack Teagarden took his trombone apart and put a glass over the end of the slide and played it, and I thought, that's it. That's it. And I got a job through the NYA, National Youth Administration, sweeping out the high school for $6 a month. And I lied about my age. I said I was 15, I was only 14. But I got the job, and I bought that trombone. It was $38 reconditioned. Oh, and Ed Mickey, the Moravian preacher up there in Mount Airy, taught me to play it. And I'd had it about, I guess, I'd had it 2 months before I met him. And I worked on it, under his tutelage for maybe 2 months. And one Sunday night, then I played Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata.
Oh boy!
In church. That was my first
You
solo
took
in
on
church.
quite a solo. Is that the same trombone you brought down here to play in the band?
Yes,
University?
it is. Yes, it is.
Same one?
Yes. I gave it to some boy up in Mount Area later on. Yes, it was.
Now, when was the first time you walked on the stage at Memorial Hall?
It was 61 years ago.
Really? Time does fly.
We're standing here as youngsters talking about 61 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes, it was 61. I walked by, I told last night, I walked by, I was in Steele, of course, and I walked by the back of the Playmakers Theater one night, and there was a bulletin up on the bulletin board there that said, tryouts for Gilbert and Sullivan's Gondoliers, such and such, at the Hill Music Hall. Well, I'd never heard of Gilbert and Sullivan, ignorant. But I thought, well, I used to sing in some churches and stuff around. I'll go over and sing. So I sang an old song, Shepherd, See Thy Horses Foaming Mane by Ole Speaks. And you know, the next day, my name was up there with a part after it. And we started rehearsing, in a day or two. And that's the first time I ever saw the inside of Memorial Hall.
And from there to Will Stockdale, to Facing the Crowd, to the Andy Griffith Show, to Matlock. Yeah. What a career.
Yeah, I've had a great opportunity to do a lot of shows, a lot of things. I did a wonderful show that only lasted a season, but it was called Salvage, and I liked it so much.
Andy, one of the reasons the Andy Griffith Show stays so much alive is that all of you gave the feeling to those of us watching that you were having a lot of fun. You were really a family in a small town, and you were like all the rest of us. Was that the chemistry you had among yourselves?
It was wonderful. I've said many times, doing that show was like getting up to go home. Mm-hmm. I loved getting there so much. When we worked on the scripts on Thursday, Friday, I was always the first one there. I was always ready. I did a little writing, and my friend Aaron Rubin, who produced it, was so inventive. I would come up with an idea, he would always make it a little better. And Don, in the very beginning, Don Knotts.
Yes.
We sat side by side at the table when we were working on the script, and Don wouldn't voice his thoughts. He would whisper them to me, and I would voice them. Later on, he of course voiced them, and he and I sat together, side by side, every day that he was there.
How'd you keep from breaking each other up?
Sometimes it was very hard. When he was doing that memory bit,
yeah.
The preamble to the Constitution, where he couldn't remember a single word of it, I could barely hold it, and I'm sure I did lose it a few times. He and I, when they were lighting us, would sing hymns. He's from Morgantown, West Virginia, and you know, his last day there, we had a little party every Wednesday after the work, and his last day, he and I were sitting in chairs side by side, talking, and after a while, we looked up, and the entire stage was empty. Everybody left. They knew what we meant to each other, and they left silently.
Isn't that interesting?
Oh yeah. So Don and I are so close. We walked out the door, and I went one way, and he went the other, and we said, "Well, let's call one another.
And you still do.
I still do, yeah. Don's 81 now.
There's something else about that program, though. You always stood for what was honorable, honest. The integrity of it was always teaching. Where'd you get that inspiration?
Oh, thank you. Well, we were all kind of guardians. I must say, Sheldon Leonard, who was a genius, and a genius in comedy as well. Legendary man, and he came up with the whole idea for this show. And Sheldon was a guardian of just those qualities you're talking about. And so we all participated. I participated, Aaron participated, Don and Ronnie's parents. We all put that into our bucket of memories. And so we all tried to keep the show as honest, and we didn't obviously try to have a little message, but every show had a little message.
Well, that was why it is so eternally popular, because it was so truthful.
Yeah.
You were there, you were yourselves. Matlock,
Yes,
you
sir.
enjoy being a lawyer?
I loved it. I loved it. 9 years. Brandon Tartikoff was the head of program at NBC. And I did a show called Fatal Vision. It was a small part. I played a lawyer. And I didn't think anything about it. But Brandon Tartikoff saw something he liked. And he called Fred Silverman. I keep calling these names out, but they're legendary names in show business.
Show business name, right.
And Fred had been head of NBC. And Fred is the one who put All in the Family on CBS.
Right.
And he called Fred and said, see if Andy Griffith would play a lawyer. So it took Fred a couple of years, but he finally found a man to put the show together. And we did the pilot. And Brandon Tartikoff says, all right. And we did, 9 shows or 8 shows, I guess. And Brandon called me. One day, one of the grips came to my bus and knocked on the door, said, Brandon Tartikoff's on the phone. I ran to the phone. He said, I'm going to pick you up for the rest of the year.
Wasn't that wonderful?
Oh, yes. And he kept our show on. He kept our show on. The salespeople wanted to cancel it, but Brandon wouldn't let them.
No.
And
Very
so,
popular.
oh yes, so the show ran for 9 years. I had a good time. I learned everything that Matlock said.
Well, that was what impressed me so by what you said yesterday. You never used cue cards, cue boards,
No.
taper. This was pure Andy.
Well, what I did do, I have a problem with numbers and names sometimes. So I had a little yellow piece of paper in my pocket. And whenever I couldn't think of something, I'd just look at that. And so that's the way I got by. I would learn it. Sometimes, as I was learning those big courtroom scenes, sometimes they were 8, 10, 12 pages long.
Yeah.
And as I was learning that, what I needed to do was paint a word picture so the audience could really follow what was going on in the story. And whenever I was learning it, sometimes I would have to rewrite part of it so it would make more sense to me, therefore more sense to the audience. So it was a wonderful experience. I loved it.
I sat in the theater in New York watching you play Will Stockdale.
Did you?
I don't think you have ever had as much fun at anything as playing that part. Is that right?
Will Stockdale is the most Christian man I've ever met. And I loved playing him. Mac Hyman wrote the book, you
Yeah.
know, and from Georgia, Cordele, Georgia.
Right.
Mac wrote the book, and you know, I read the book and I took it in my hand to William Morris at my agency, and I said, if there's ever anything for me, this is it. And they looked into it, and Morris Evans had the property for Broadway. He didn't have a script, and I kept after him for a long time. There's no script. He may abandon the project. Well, I went to see. I called Mac up on the phone and asked if I could do a monologue on his No Time for Sergeants. And he, like any good artist, said, oh, go see my agent. Well, I did. Wonderful man named James Brown. And in letting me down easy, he said, you know, this book is a #1 bestseller. Has been for like 15 weeks. And he said, it's going to be a Broadway show and a motion picture and a television show. So we better not. Nobody in town knew about the television show. Nobody in town knew about that. So I went to William Morris. I said, it's going to be a television show. Please find out about it. Well, just a few days later, I walked over with to the theater guild, and went up and read, and I was the first one there. I was the first person who ever read for that part.
Well, you were the most natural person ever created.
I
for that
got
part.
it. I loved playing it. I loved playing it. And dear Roddy McDowell played Ben Whitledge,
Yeah.
and all the laughs
You just started laughing.
came in waves.
Yeah.
They came in waves. And we had 7 newspapers at that time in New York. We got them all.
Yes, you did.
It was wonderful. It was the best experience of my life up to that time. I couldn't get over it.
Now, I want to tell our audience that when you were in Chapel Hill, this 3 weeks ago now, you and Cindy went to the University Library, and there you handed Chancellor Measer a bound copy of the first 5 scripts of the Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah.
Now, behind that is a warehouse.
Yeah.
What are you and Cindy doing here at the university? What are you trying to do here? Give us all the archives.
Oh, we're going to give you all of that.
Isn't that wonderful?
We're going to give you all of that. There are a few little items in our house that we'll keep for now, but it's going to take us a while.
Yeah.
And we'll gather all the material we've got up, and then the library is going to come down and get them and catalog it. I don't know quite how they do that. Well, we walked through a lot of the library yesterday, and my mind was just circling. There's so much material up there.
Now, you remember that we asked Cindy that when you start going through this material, don't you throw anything away.
We won't throw
Put
anything.
it in that box. That
Put it
Cindy's
all
gonna
in the
have.
box. We'll do it.
Well, that's a monumental thing that you two have done. You created here this singularly most important collection of this stage and time in American theater and comedy, folklore, music. Dozens of people are going to come and study that material.
Well,
Andy, and
I hope so.
all of us are grateful.
I hope so. And I gave a guitar, and I hope that guitar will be played. When we were going through the library, there was a young man said, "This is where we're storing the guitar right now," and I have played it, like you said.
Now, you two are building a new home in
Yes.
Manio. How's it like to being a sidewalk superintendent? Or I should say a sandbar superintendent.
It's a sandbar, yes. This is the first house we ever built. We've added on to houses and things like that. This is the first house we ever built from the ground up. And it's quite a project. I'm very happy that of what's going on. Our friend John Wilson designed this house. He's mayor of Mandio, and a good friend. I've known him since he was a child too.
Right.
Like I've known Robert Long since he was a child. You know, who did all the work on Memorial Hall.
Certainly did.
And a man named Calvin Gibbs is our wonderful contractor, and he's doing a beautiful job. I must just commend him. He's a wonderful worker, doing a beautiful job, and he has wonderful people working for him.
Andy, a lot of people see what you do and enjoy what you do, but you do a lot of other things that you don't talk about, but people know about. But I'm particularly interested in what you did with the school children in Manteo, in the area there. What have you done to help them get their hands on modern technology?
Well, it wasn't me.
Well, you were in there.
I was the messenger. I mentioned John Wilson just now, and I have to say John and Mark Bassnight. You know Mark.
Yes.
Well, they went through IBM and all of these big computer companies and people, and through all their efforts, every child in Manteo has a computer, every child, and free internet and software with thousands of pieces of literature, encyclopedia, because some of our students weren't doing as well as others. This will level the playing field, and I'm just so proud to have been a little part of that.
All that is now being implemented in the schools?
Yes, they have them now.
That's wonderful.
They have them now.
That's great. Well, I want everybody to know that you are a contributor in another dimension of your life that they just don't see all the time, and we're grateful for that too.
I was very proud to tell backstage when we were going through the library. I'll just tell you, I've always felt that music, among other things, is a great alternative. There are a lot of students, a lot of kids who don't excel at one thing. They're maybe not good sports, don't come from a lot of money. But music, if they can play an instrument or sing, maybe so, maybe excel at that. Well, a long time ago, there was a chemistry teacher there in high school in Manteo, and he was kind of interested in starting a band. And they came to see me, and I said, "What do you need?" And they told me, I said, "Just mark out all the instruments you think you need." And they did. And I called Spiegel Catalog again. And I bought them all the instruments that they said, and they started our little band, and they played pretty good. And then, I guess a couple of 3 years after that or so, the superintendent came and said that teacher was leaving, and I guess that'll be the end of the music program. And I thought about it, and I said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll pay the band teacher's salary. And I did for 11 years. And now they have a fine music program.
They certainly do.
In the high school. With an elective, the only way you can get a teacher is to have enough students. So that's what happened. They have enough students that they have to have a music teacher.
What a wonderful thing for you to do.
Oh, I loved it.
That school is now producing Moorhead scholars, as you well know,
Yes,
too.
yes, I know.
I want all our viewers to know that on the Saturday night of that celebration about Memorial Hall, you received the very first award of the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, as performing artist for all that you've done nationally in music, in theater, in television. And it's the university's way of saying thank you to you, Andy, and you and Cindy for all that you've done for us, and to say how grateful we are that you've been the figure you've been to set the standards that you set for the quality of commercial television. And all of us stood and cheered. We're mighty proud and happy for you. And I know I speak for all North Carolinians in thanking you for such a superior career and such a wonderful career.
Thank you.
And I wish we hadn't run out of time, because I've got a whole bucket full of things I want to ask you yet, but we'll do it again sometime.
Are we out of time?
Yeah, we're out of time, but it's been great to see you.
I'm sorry I talked so much.
That's exactly why you're here. You talk, but it's grand to see you again. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for letting us in your living room. And I know you've had as much fun as I have getting to see North Carolina's ambassador to the whole wide world one more time. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Funding for North Carolina People is provided by Wachovia, helping North Carolina people realize their financial goals since 1879. And by UNC TV members.